to replace it. He said, nonsense of a plan.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. It has been 56 plus days since Kamala Harris has sat down for a solo interview. And Friday night, ABC, a local ABC news network, decided to conduct an interview with Kamala Harris solo, without Tampon Tim, not on CNN. We remember the CNN interview with her and Tampon Tim and Dana Bash. She decides to sit down with ABC on this local news network, and she freaking bombs. Shout out to everybody watching. Drop your comments down below. Smash the like button, and let's jump into this video.
Okay, wonderful. Good. Awesome. Madam Vice President, pleasure to meet you. Thanks for your time today. Our audience appreciates your time as well.
Of course.
As you know, we're sitting here in a state and arguably in front of an audience that 54 days from now could decide the outcome of this presidential election. Yeah. You hear it more than I do. People want to know more about you and about your specific plans. At the debate the other night, you talked about creating an opportunity economy. Mm-hmm. I wonder if we can drill down on that a little bit. When we talk about bringing down prices and making life more affordable for people, what are one or two specific things you have in mind for that?
Before she answers the question, we're going to get back into the video, but before she answers the question was, what are one or two specific things that you would do?
Well, I'll start with this. I grew up a middle-class kid. My mother raised my sister and me. She worked very hard. She was able to finally save up enough money to buy our first house when I was a teenager. I grew up in a community of hardworking people, construction work.
That sounds oddly familiar.
So I was raised as a middle-class kid. I grew up in a community of hardworking people, construction workers and nurses and teachers. And I try to explain to some people who may not have had the same experience, but a lot of people will relate to this. I grew up in a neighborhood of folks who were very proud of their lawn.
What?
And I was raised to believe and to know that all people deserve dignity. And that we as Americans have a beautiful character. We have ambitions and aspirations and dreams, but not everyone necessarily has access to the resources that can help them fuel those dreams and ambitions. So when I talk about building an opportunity economy, it is very much with the mind of investing in the ambitions and aspirations and the incredible work ethic of the American people, and creating opportunity for people, for example, to start a small business. My mother, worked long hours, and our neighbor helped raise us. We used to call her, I still call her, our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small business owners. I learned who they are from my childhood, and she was a community leader. She hired locally. She mentored. Our small businesses are so much a part of the fabric of our communities, not to mention, really, I think, the backbone of America's economy. So my opportunity economy plan includes giving startups a $50,000 tax deduction to start their small business. It used to be $5,000. Nobody can start a small business with $5,000. But investing in people's innovative ideas and giving them the ability to go for it. Opportunity economy means, look, we don't have enough housing in America. We have a housing supply shortage. And what that means, in particular for so many younger Americans, the American dream is elusive. It's just actually not attainable. So part of my plan is to work with the private sector and housing developers to give them a tax credit, to be able to partner with us as the government to build, and my goal is 3 million new homes by the end of my first term. In addition, to help people who just want to get their foot in the door, literally. And so giving first-time home buyers a $25,000 down payment assistance to be able to just get in the door, and then they will do the work that they need to do to save and to pay that mortgage and to build wealth for themselves and their family. These are some examples of what I mean when I talk about an
Wow.
opportunity economy. And a lot of it has to do with just the community I was raised in and the people that I admired who work hard, and deserve to have, their dreams fulfilled because they're prepared to work for it.
You talked at the debate and at previous appearances about turning the page on the past. And in fact, here today in Johnstown, you're talking about a new way forward.
Yeah.
I think some people have a question, given maybe your current role as Vice President of the United States, how different you are from Joe Biden. And so I wonder if there are one or two spots, policy areas or approaches where you would say, I'm a different person.
Well, I'm obviously not Joe Biden. And, I offer a new generation of leadership. And so, for example, thinking about developing and creating an opportunity economy where it's
Oh my
about
gosh. She's horrible when she's not on
investing in
teleprompter.
areas that really need a lot of work. And maybe focusing on, again, the aspirations and the dreams, but also just recognizing that at this moment in time, some of the stuff we could take for granted years ago, we can't take for granted anymore. For example, another plan that I have that is a new approach is to expand the child tax credit to $6,000 for young families for the first year of their child's life, because that is obviously a very critical stage of development of a child. And a lot of young parents need the help to buy a car seat or a crib or clothes for their kids. And so my approach is about new.
Wait. So how is she different than Joe Biden? The current tax credit for children is $3,000. And she says she's going to make it to $6,000. So the only major difference between you and Joe Biden is $3,000?
Ideas, new policies that are directed at the current moment. And also, to be very honest with you, my focus is very much in what we need to do over the next 10, 20 years to catch up to the 21st century around, again, capacity, but also challenges.
What?
Crime and public safety are two major issues right at the forefront of voters' minds in Philadelphia as well, where crime is a significant issue. When we talk about crime, the conversation turns to gun safety as well. And I think you actually probably caught a lot of people off guard, maybe a bit by surprise in the debate the other night when you mentioned that you are a gun owner. I know you said it in 2019 as well. I want to talk about your values on this issue. When it comes to gun ownership, where do you draw the line in America on gun ownership and gun use?
Well, like you said, Brian, I am a gun owner, and Tim Walz, my running mate, is also a gun owner. We're not taking anybody's guns away. I support the Second Amendment, and I support reasonable gun safety laws. Part of my approach to this is I was a career prosecutor for most of my career. I have personally prosecuted homicide cases. I have personally looked at autopsies. I have personally seen what assault weapons do to the human body. And so I feel very strongly that it is consistent with the Second Amendment and your right to own a gun to also say we need an assault weapons ban. They're literally tools of war. They were literally designed to kill a lot of human beings quickly. I say we need universal background checks. The majority of NRA members support that. Why? Because it's just reasonable. You just might want to know before someone can buy a lethal weapon if they've been found by a court to be a danger to themselves or others. You just might want to know.
Two final questions, if I might.
Sure.
On the appeal of the man you were running against, as you drove here today, you likely saw a lot of Trump signs. Mm-hmm. He has an historic appeal in this country. And as you are someone running against him and trying to understand that, I wonder how you distill it. What do you understand his appeal to be? And how do you speak to his voters, or maybe people who just share his values but are open to something else?
I, based on experience and oh
my
a lived experience, no. In my heart, I know, in my soul, I know that the vast majority of us as Americans have so much more in common than what separates us. And I also believe that I am accurate in knowing that most Americans want a leader who brings us together as Americans and not someone who professes to be a leader who is trying to have us point our fingers at each other. I think people are exhausted with that approach, to be honest with you. I think people want a leader who has common sense and tries to find common ground. I'm supported by over 200 Republicans who worked for both Presidents Bush, John McCain, and Mitt Romney. I'm supported by the former Vice President Dick Cheney, former Congress member Liz Cheney. And I think people are more willing now, in light of the hate and division that we see coming out of Donald Trump, to say, hey, let's put country first. And I think that just makes us stronger and more healthy as a country, to say, look, we can all debate our differences around, various policies, but let's stop with the division. Like, enough of that. Let's bring everybody together.
And finally, as you introduce yourself to America in a new way, they've heard much of your story at the Democratic National Convention and in that debate earlier this week. If there's one thing that you wish Americans knew about who Kamala Harris is that you don't think they know yet, what would that be?
I don't know. I mean, probably it's not very different from anybody watching right now. I love my family. One of my favorite things that I lately have not been able to do is Sunday family dinner. I love to cook. I have incredible friends. My best friend from kindergarten is still my best friend. I think that, I have a career that really, and I said it the other day, as a career prosecutor, I never asked a victim of crime, were they a Republican or a Democrat. The only thing I ever asked them is, are you okay? And I think that's the approach that most Americans want, regardless of who they voted for in the last election, in terms of turning the page and charting the way forward.
She is running for the president of the United States, dodging questions again on a favorable news network. This is total bullcrap. This is the way that she answered her questions was like she's running for senior president of her high school. This is definitely not the caliber of candidate for leadership that we need. This is crazy. She looked incredibly nervous. She's trying to remember her talking points from the debate that she's gotten coached on.
Their homes, and $13 trillion in family wealth was wiped out. Now, we have come back from that abyss, and it has not been easy. So we're now on the precipice of having a potentially much better economy, but the last thing we need to do is to go back to the policies that failed us in the first place. Independent experts have looked at what I've proposed and looked at what Donald's proposed, and basically they've said this, that if his tax plan, which would blow up the debt by over $5 trillion and would, in some instances, disadvantage middle-class families compared to the wealthy, were to go into effect, we would lose 3.5 million jobs and maybe have another recession.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse, mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession.
He said, nonsense of a plan.
It comes off disingenuous, and she doesn't know what she's talking about. The polls are showing it, and CNN can no longer hide this.
Worst polling Democrat against Donald Trump in history on national polls. No one is performing worse than her. No one's performing worse than her among blacks, among Hispanics, the worst performing Democrat in modern history among those demographics, worst performing polling wise among Jews. She is losing key factions of the Democratic base. Muslim voters, she's at under 50, she's at 52% in the latest CARE poll among black Muslims. She is not doing well.
Look at how demoralized Kamala Harris looks prior to that interview, because she and Tim Walz are tanking in the polls.
I am feeling very good in Pennsylvania who deserve to be seen and heard. That's why I'm here in Johnstown. And I will be continuing to travel around the state to make sure that I'm listening as much as we are talking. And ultimately, I feel very strongly that we've got to earn every vote. And that means spending time with folks in the communities where they live. And so that's why I'm here. We're going to be spending a lot more time in Pennsylvania. But
I can't. This is pathetic. Let me know what you guys think. Drop it in the chat. Let me know what you guys think. Is this absolutely, this is pathetic. I'm done. And here are some polling updates from the Silver Bulletin. Electoral College has Donald Trump at 60.1%, Harris at 39%. Trump has swing states for Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Michigan. Harris has Wisconsin. It is brutal. It is absolutely brutal when she is not on teleprompter. Horrible showing. They said that she's going to do some more interviews. If they continue to be like this one, they need to stop. They just simply need to stop and say, Kamala Harris, no more interviews, because you're continuing to tank. The more you speak, the more you tank. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop your comments down below. Smash the like button, share, subscribe, and as always, I'll catch you on the next one.